How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we're back with another FPL video, and today we're going to be taking a look at my guide to the wild card in Game Week 29. It's all going to stem on if you are looking to free hit in Game Week 30 or not, because that is quite a big decision going forward, but it can also mean that you can get extra Game Week players for the double in 29 and some more players potentially in Game Week 30 depending on which route that you go. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe channel if you're new or haven't done so already. It greatly helps out the channel, as well as turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Drop us a follow over on Twitter so you can keep up to date with any and all FPL news, from price changes to injury news and anything in between, as well as give us a follow over on Twitch so that you can see when we go live for our preview and deadline streams. We'll be doing a preview stream after the fixtures on Thursday. That'll be around 7:30 p.m. EST. We usually leave a pinned comment down below to let you know what those are or when they're going to be going live over on Twitch. So without further ado, let's talk about our sponsors for this video with Manscaped. This video is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped have just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0, alongside their Performance Package 4.0, which also includes the Weed Whacker hair and nose trimmer for those pesky little hairs that are getting out of hand, the Crop Preserver for anti-chafing to make sure that you are as relaxed at all times, the Crop Reviver for maximum conditioning and toning to make sure your jewels are as buff as possible, disposable shaving mats, as well as the premier travel bag for your on-the-go grooming, and lastly the anti-chafing boxers, which I can personally say are extremely comfortable and keep you cool under the highest amount of pressure. What I found the most impressive is that the Lawnmower 4.0 features ceramic cutting-edge blades to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology, so you can now have that added security when venturing into uncharted territories. The upgraded trimmer also includes a multi-function on and off switch that can engage a travel lock, and also when you are venturing into those uncharted territories, it has the ability for a LED, a 400K LED, a very strong light that you can switch on and off so you can get that more precise shave. So make sure to join over 4 million men who trust in Manscaped with this exclusive offer: 20% off and free worldwide shipping using the code FLAME20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com using the code FLAME20. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. So the wild card can depend on, at least for Game Week 29, if you're going to free hit in Game Week 30 or you're going to free hit later. And it depends on how many free hits you have. If you're like myself, you have just the one, maybe wildcarding you can get away with not free hitting in Game Week 30, and we can show you basically how to do that if you decide to wildcard in Game Week 30. So you have to kind of look at the fixtures as well. So if I just go to the next, this is fpl.team, by the way, a fantastic site where you can kind of see the fixtures ahead of time. So you can see in my current team, you know, we don't have very many players and not necessarily the greatest players. Aitnuri might not play. Bowen could be injured. Smith Rowe doesn't necessarily start. Watkins has been benched, although he's been playing, you know, well enough recently. But again, not the greatest amount of players in there that are going to help us longer term. And you can see these fixtures here: Wolves, Leeds, Aston Villa, Arsenal, Leicester, Brentford, Spurs, and West Ham. Now, the advantage of wildcarding Game Week 39 is that if you load up on Arsenal and Spurs players, you can get some double Game Week players and have players for the blank, which is quite nice. So if we go back, let's take a look at what the wild card would look like. So I wouldn't have Mendy. You can go for another goalkeeper alongside Ramsdale. I think if you actually look at the fixtures, the best cheap goalkeeper rotation at the moment is actually Dubravka and Ramsdale. So when Ramsdale plays, let's say, Brighton at home in Game Week 32, Dubravka, he plays Wolves at home. Not necessarily the greatest fixture, I wouldn't think, at least what they were playing a few weeks ago. Maybe that's slightly better. When Dubravka plays Norwich away, you have the likes of Ramsdale in Game Week 35, who's playing West Ham. When Ramsdale plays Newcastle, Dubravka plays them as well. Then you have, you know, when Ramsdale plays Man United in 34, Dubravka plays, oh, it's the Norwich game is in 34. There you go. So they rotate quite nicely. You would probably play Ramsdale because he has 2 home fixtures. You would probably say Leicester's easier than Everton, I would say. Well, maybe Everton's probably easier for Dubravka at the moment, but you probably play Ramsdale just because he has the 2 home fixtures. You can also go for the likes of Lloris or Schmeichel if you have a little bit of extra budget, because they also play in Game Week 30. In defense, you probably only can get away with having 1 Chelsea defender, and that's probably going to be Reece James just because he has more upside. So we would have to get rid of Rudiger from my own team, and I think the man in form at the moment is Matt Doherty. I think for 4.7 million, if he's going to be playing like the way he was in the game versus Everton, he's going to be fantastic value. And worst case scenario, just bench him. He's 4.7 million. You're probably going to be playing Trent, Reece James, and then maybe a Liverpool defender or something most weeks anyway. So that's something you could probably do as well. Me personally, I like going big at the back, so maybe I would have Rudiger, another Liverpool defender, and Doherty in there, but then I'd probably be looking to free hit in 30. But I can show you what that team would look like later on in the video. Then also in defense, we'd have to get rid of João Cancelo, unfortunately, because we have to make sacrifices, and he's just going to be one of them. We'd also be getting rid of Aït-Nouri as well. So this is a bunch of different options here. You can go for some cheaper options like Cody, and Amarty is one we're actually going to throw in here because he's been starting recently. We only need him to basically play in the next, like, this game week, in game week 30, really, just because he's cheap. And then we could bench him just for forever, basically. If he gets future double game weeks, which Leicester do have fixtures to rearrange, then he could be good value going forward if he is going to play game in, game out. If he doesn't play, that'll put us down to probably 9 players, which isn't the end of the world, but you know, it is what it is. And then Aït-Nouri we would replace with a Liverpool defender, most likely. I've gone with Virgil van Dijk, just because in a double game week, Robertson is more likely to be rotated. I think Van Dijk's only missed 1 game, I think, in the Premier League when he hasn't been fit. And I think that was after, like, playing multiple game weeks in a row, and they went up against, like, a Norwich or something like that. So Van Dijk will come in for me. Salah's going to be the captain, obviously. We have vice captain Trent, I would say. Coutinho probably doesn't make the cut, even though he does have a fixture in game week 30. We would go for somebody a bit on the cheaper side, and someone who's been playing quite well, playing for Arsenal as well, would be Bukayo Saka. We would bring him in, and we would replace Smith Rowe with Saka directly, or we could also replace him with Kulusevski, who's been fantastic since he's come in to Spurs as well. So he would come in into the team as well. Marty would drop to the bench because we wouldn't be playing him. We would probably play Bowen over Dennis at the moment, just swapping some things around just so you can see kind of how the team evolves. And then that last midfield spot, we want somebody who's going to be playing in the game week 30 fixtures if we wanted to not free hit then, and we would need somebody probably cheaper later on if we're going to want to fund Kane as an example in the forward line. I'm also looking to get Vardy in there as well if I can. So we're going to get, because Vardy's going to have some doubles coming up, even though he might not necessarily play 2 games you know, in quick succession, he can provide something off the bench. So what we're going to do is we're going to downgrade Bowen, and we're going to go for Ramsey, who didn't score as many points as we would have liked, but we're going to bring him in there because he does have a fixture and he is cheaper, and you can just bench him. He's our 5th midfielder in this instance. Then we would have to do some rearranging in the front line. We would get rid of Dennis and go for a cheaper alternative like Broja, who has a good fixture this week as well versus Watford. So Ramsey would drop to the bench for him. We would also bring in the likes of Harry Kane, who is somebody we can bring in for Watkins. We would bring in Kane. There we go. Harry Kane. We would bring him in. He would play over the likes of Weghorst. And then lastly, our last striker that we could have would be Jamie Vardy. Now we would get rid of Weghorst because we do have quite a lot of funds available. Jamie Vardy will be 10.3 million. I would have 1.1 million missing. I'm not sure how that has happened. I'm trying to think, how did I get this available on the when I was doing it on oh, that's right, I didn't have Saka. That's right, I had Martinelli instead. So another great alternative. If you wanted to go that route, we'd have 0.1 million left in the bank. Martinelli, another alternative, also scored as well, so it would be quite good. So we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 double game weekers, which is quite good because we have triple Liverpool, we have triple Spurs, we have double Arsenal, and I think probably the only player we would be missing out of this team would be the likes of Cancelo going forward and Saka in the double game week itself. But we have Vardy ready for our single game week in game week 30, and you can see how that team moves into game week 30. So these would be the players that would go in there. So we'd have Vardy versus Brentford, we'd have Amarty versus Brentford. We would just bench all our Liverpool players here. We would bring in Salah in here as well. And you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players, but we do have the main ones realistically. We have triple Spurs, we have Vardy versus Brentford. The only thing you could probably consider is maybe we swap out Van Dijk or somebody like that for like a Tierney maybe, who would play against Aston Villa, and then we'd have 10 players. But I think those 9 are probably good. If Bowen's available, then maybe you go for him, but you would have to get rid of Salah to do that, and that's not ideal. Not really missing too much, to be honest here. If we even look at the fixtures, we can see, you know, Leeds and Wolves not really missing anyone there. Maybe Lacazette, but we've gone with Vardy, who I think is probably better versus Brentford. And then Spurs versus West Ham. Again, we have triple Spurs. The only one we're missing is Son, but on any given day, Son could score 3 and Kane could score 3, but they can also assist and score with each other. So, and we saw that Kane, if you went for Kane over Son, you were on the better side of the variance there. But one thing also to note as well is that with this draft, that you do have 9 players. If you wanted to make the transfer and get somebody else in, let's say you did get rid of Van Dijk and you went for somebody else, whether it be a West Ham defender or a Tierney or somebody like that, you could go for them. You could even go for one of the lesser defenders. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could. And then moving into Game Week 31, most teams that do well in 29, they do pretty well in Game Week 31 as well. So you would see Amarty would drop to the bench, Van Dijk comes back in, Trent comes back in for the likes of Ramsey, who plays Wolves. Salah would come in instead of probably Martinelli. I would say Vardy, if he starts versus United, is actually quite good, to be honest, especially away from home. And yeah, that would probably be the only real benching headache, would be, do I play Martinelli over the likes of Broja? Then you would have Salah captain, you would have Kane vice captain, and you're looking pretty good. If you wanted to as well, you could then downgrade Vardy if you really wanted to, but they have doubles coming up. You can go for somebody different if you wanted to take a, you know, punt on somebody else. You know, you could still get Lacazette in because you only have 2 Arsenal with Martinelli and Ramsdale. You could go to Lacazette if you didn't want Vardy afterwards. But Vardy's fixtures after that: Palace, Newcastle, Aston Villa, with Everton, Watford, and Southampton at the end of the season, and doubles to come, I think could be quite good. And again, you could just bench Amarty. If he's not playing, he's not playing. Fair enough. Moving into Game Week 32, again, still quite good. You could bench Broja for the likes of Martinelli, who would come in. If you wanted to keep the double Liverpool defense, they do play City, but again, it's not the end of the world, and the team still looks fine. Ramsdale and Dubravka, if you wanted to kind of hedge your bets with Martinelli and Ramsdale, you could put Dubravka in there. Game Week 32, again, this is all without transfers. Ramsdale is still fine. You can have, if Amarty is still playing at the time, you could bring him in for the likes of Rafinha. Many different ways you can do it, and I think that team is quite flexible, even with 9 players. As long as you have probably like triple Spurs, a couple of Arsenal players in there, you're probably fine. Now let's take a look at the team if we were to go with, if we wanted to free hit in Game Week 30. That's something we have to check, because again, this depends on what you can be a little bit more aggressive probably with your Liverpool assets. If you're free hitting in 30, I think you could potentially keep their attackers more so than the defenders. With the defenders, it kind of is a little more stable long term, whereas if you're free hitting in 30, then you can be a bit more on the front foot with like a Jota or a Diaz or something. Jota did play tonight. although they did lose to Inter Milan. So whether he's still good for that amount of time, we will see. Firmino's supposed to be back soon, so that could be a bit of a rotation risk, but we will see. So for me, I would be a bit more aggressive if I'm free hitting. I would still have Ramsdale, would still have Mendy. I would have triple Chelsea defense because I think Chelsea's fixtures for the rest of the season are fantastic. Their only real difficult game, in quotes, really, is the likes of Man United. I would probably still keep Cancelo because I think he's still quite good. With Aït-Nouri, I would probably try to see if I can maximize. And this also depends on if you played the bench boost or not. I haven't, so I'm still going to keep value in some players if the bench boost is something that I'm, still going to have money available for. So I'm going to do that as if I was still going to be able to play the bench boost. I could potentially play the bench boost in a smaller double game week as well. Like maybe Leicester gets a double game week, and it's probably fine there as well. If I could bench boost and Wildcard at the same time, that'd be great. But obviously we can't. Aït-Nouri, I would definitely take out of the team. Who would I swap him out for? I would probably go for someone, like I said, a bit on the more aggressive side. Again, like I mentioned before, I personally like 5 at the back. I think it's quite good, especially when you have so many attacking options. So Doherty would come in for me. Coutinho would leave my team because we're free hitting. So I would go for probably Martinelli, just a nice cheaper midfielder who does have a double. Smith Rowe would leave my team. I would bring in Kulusevski as well. So some similar players here. So he would come in for Watkins. Watkins would leave my team as well if I can get the value to go up to Kane. He would ideally be my only striker, realistically, if I could. Because I can just free hit Vardy in if I wanted to. So Kane, if I can get him, I'll bring him in. So we need to basically get rid of 2.4 million that you can see right there. Dennis would be downgraded to Broja, almost certainly. So that would be 1.8 million. Then we'd have to downgrade Bowen. We could do that to the likes of Ramsey, who's someone we could just have sit on our bench. And we have 0.1 million. And we could still keep Weghorst, to somebody who is a pretty good option going forward, considering he also has doubles. So we would have Kane in. This is where the benching headache becomes a little bit annoying, because we would play Ramsdale over Mendy, even though he has a great fixture. Kane's definitely gonna, be good in this double, almost certainly. And benching Broja versus Watford at home doesn't feel great. So our bench might have some decent points on it this game week, but maybe you play Broja over Rafinha, but Rafinha's at home to Norwich. Cancelo has Crystal Palace. If you think they're going to concede, maybe you play one of the attackers. But again, with this system, you might have a little bit of a benching headache. You only have double Liverpool in this style, though. So if you wanted to do something slightly differently, you could, if you wanted to be more aggressive, you would have to downgrade elsewhere. So if I wanted to, let's say, bring a Jota in, as an example, I would probably not go for Rafinha, just because I think he's probably the weakest out of all of those. So Jota would mean we'd have to downgrade 1.7 million somewhere. That would probably mean that we would have to go with a cheaper goalkeeper and only go with double Chelsea defense. We have to make sacrifices somewhere. So maybe we go for Dubravka, who would give us exact amount of cash for that. And we can swap them as we were doing in the previous team. And then actually, if we look at the team for the blank game week, as you can see, don't have very many players available. So we would definitely be free hitting. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not great. We don't want to get rid of double Chelsea defense. We can still keep Cancelo, who has, he has Burnley, he has Liverpool, he has Wolves, he has Watford, he has Leeds, and then we can move some of these players on afterwards. So if Jota doesn't really work out, or after the double, we can move him on to the likes of a Foden or somebody like that. That's an option that we can do going forward after. And again, we're free hitting in 30 in this instance. And coming out of it, we have triple Liverpool versus Watford, so he would come in. Salah would come in there for Ramsey. Weghorst drops to the bench. Trent Alexander-Arnold would come in for probably Broja, even though I don't like benching Broja versus Leeds, because I think that could be a good game for him. But we would have a very, very strong team. Again, Salah would be the captaincy option here. I'll just vice-captain Kane. Again, although it could be quite close there. But who knows? Newcastle might beat Spurs. That would be an option. Moving into the games going forward, you probably maybe hold off on the like Foden moves and that sort of stuff, because Liverpool and City play each other soon. So you could bring in Weghorst. Maybe you bring in versus Jota, because most likely he'll play Firmino if he's fit, that being Jurgen Klopp. Maybe you can drop Doherty and play Jota, but again, Jota versus Man City might get rested. Maybe just play Doherty there. So this game week's not looking as great. But after that, looks okay. We have the 2 Chelsea defenders versus Leeds. Jota can come back in and probably start versus Aston Villa. He'll play over Weghorst for us. Maybe we captain Kane versus Brighton at home. And then you can see how kind of the team evolves from there. So that's kind of my thoughts for the wildcard in game week 29. Definitely some flexible options, whether you're trying to free hit or not. You get slightly more players if you were to free hit in or not free hit in game week 30 and you went for the first draft. You can get even slightly more players if you didn't go for Vardy. So if you went for the likes of Lacazette as an example, you can change one of the other players with a little extra cash to get a 10th, maybe even 11th player, depending on what you're looking at. But it is very tricky, and it all kind of hinges on certain players playing as well, because Doherty could easily be rested in that single game week. Amartey might not play. There are some risks to it. So I think probably the safer option is, if you're going to wildcard in game week 29, you probably should have either already played your bench boost, or you have your free hit available for 30, and you have to basically keep money in your team to do so if you want to bench boost later and you still have that chip available. What do you think? Down in the comments below. Is my wildcard draft good? Is it bad? Which one do you like? Are you free hitting in 30? Are you not? I most certainly am, because I don't have very many players for it, but I'm looking to wildcard later on. But if you are looking to wildcard, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Which players did I maybe miss out on? I know Son's going to be a big omission there, but I think that Kane, Kulusevski, and Doherty probably bring you a little bit of extra value. So if you haven't heard about Fantasy Football Scout, they have a fantastic members area during the regular season. It's £25 for the membership, and that lasts the entire year. And during the off season, they give a 20% discount. But if you have missed that discount, fear not, you can still get the membership for £25, and it's fantastic. You can see the membership area just behind me. You have a bunch of different stats that you can use, powered by Opta stats, and create your own custom tables. You have the Rate My Team tool, you have the season ticker, player comparison tools, a whole array of things that you can use to help elevate your FPL game. So use the link down in the description below so that you can get access to these exclusive tools to help elevate your FPL game. Sign up now. And that's going to do it for our Game Week 29 wildcard guide. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe channel if you're new or haven't done so already. It greatly helps out the channel, as well as turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Drop us a follow over on Twitter so that you can keep up to date with any and all FPL news, from manager quotes to potential team news sometimes when I retweet it, and anything in between. As well as give us a follow over on Twitch so you can join us live for our preview and deadline streams. We will be doing a preview stream on Thursday after the last set of fixtures for Game Week 28. And we'll look ahead to the fixtures in Game Week 29, see how the team did as per normal. And we'll be doing a deadline stream as usual for Game Week 29 on the Saturday as well. And lastly, make sure to use the code FLAME20 so that you can get 20% off and free worldwide shipping for your Manscaped order. Your balls will thank you. As well as make sure to check out the Fantasy Football Scout membership area. There's a link down in the description below. They usually have a preseason offer, 20% off. So make sure to check that out. You get the same stuff no matter if you join with or without the preseason offer. It's fantastic. We're going to be using it on the deadline stream, so make sure to join us for that as well. Thank you all for watching, and until the next one, take care.